let's move on to the weekly chatter. India's new middle class. Oh God, this is just trolling. But India's middle class is no longer what it used to be. Expenses have surged so much that even those earning as much as 1 crore a year aren't rich in the conventional sense. Lower taxes for this group is what will propel growth, I argue in my latest column.
Some people really need to touch grass.
Pawan, what are your thoughts?
I feel like this reply depends upon which side of the society you are in. If you are living amongst the people who are like top 1 to top 10%, you're obviously bound to have like such a thought in your mind, and you
No,
will
even
definitely
top
feel that struggle.
10%, for the top 10%, Bhavan, I think what you are saying holds true maybe for the top 1% of the country. Top
1% and
10%,
0.1%, right?
1 crore is a lot of money, is life-changing money for majority of this country.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
top 10%, yes, I agree. Yeah, this is a strong opinion, strongly held
Yeah,
perspective
it's a
actually.
little obnoxious and it feels a little delusional.
No, it's a hot take, but
Yeah,
one interesting data point that I read about, earlier this week is that like after China and UK, India has the highest number of millionaires who are leaving India. So we are the third country where very
yeah,
like ultra rich people are leaving the country, and that says something, right? That means something is not definitely working well.
yeah. I
Unfair
mean,
distribution of wealth.
no, not just that, right? We don't
What?
have the infrastructure that people want. And which is why when people have made their money, they're able to move out because they don't have to worry about money being a problem. Because obviously life outside is slightly more expensive, but you also get the services and the infrastructure that you're supposed to get.
I differ on that. I think if you're rich in India compared to, rich in any other country, your life in India is much more better
No,
just because
life is
it's
better,
provided
mate. But
for.
I
It's not
think
a point
some
we'll be
of
proud of,
these,
but it
yeah.
definitely exists.
Hmm.
The vice versa is also true. If you're poor in rest of the part of the world, your life is much better than if you're poor in India, your life is pathetic.
I swear.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Do let us know in the comments. All right, let's move
Especially
on.
if
But
you're.
depends. But Pete, there is one quotes to that also. Depends on which part of the world, dude. I am pretty sure there are countries who are worse than us.
I mean, yeah, you look at Africa as a continent, right? It's so
Yeah.
poor, right? So obviously, I mean, we are talking only in the Indian cost. There is obviously somebody poorer than you at all times.
Would you live in India with 1 million, or would you live in Pakistan with 10 million? Let us know in the comment section below.
Dollars, right? Let's make the units fair. Dollars, US
Yeah,
dollars.
dollars. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Entrepreneurship is back.
Woohoo! Let's go.
So Abrar Vatnagar, a junior VC fame, has posted this recently. Quite crazy that 9,123 founders across 5,125 teams have applied to a junior VC in the last 4 months. Okay, slight flex. Average of 1.8 founders is because 2,189 founders are solo founders, but the sheer volume of applications is insane. Entrepreneurship is alive and thriving in India. It just needs more enablers. Pawan, this is a message for you. Kudos to
Yep,
you
yep.
for keeping entrepreneurship alive. You and you only did this.
Yeah,
Thanks, Pete.
this is
But yeah,
actually
I do
very
agree with
impressive.
that.
The stats are absolutely impressive.
I think so. It's
Yeah.
basically goes on to say that the cost of the risk associated in to start up in India is much lower than the rest of the world, and building is fairly easier
Super
in
point.
India when compared to rest of the world, actually.
But
Yeah,
also,
super point.
just from a different perspective, don't you think like if there are so many folks applying to a single VC, there are 99% of these folks are going to just get rejected and not go anywhere with a lot of these VCs. So even for these VCs, it just the demand versus supply just becomes a huge problem. Like obviously
No,
VC
that's the
being in the benefit of it.
no, that's the job of an VC, right? Your odds will be always against you. The success rate of a startup making it is like less than 1% sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's their job to figure out who are these 1% people.
Yeah, I
So
mean that's what I'm saying. Like it's
just
obviously beneficial to the VCs if they have like so much
Yeah.
options also.
yep, yep.
Yeah, but it's also interesting to note that being a founder or starting a company is somewhat become a status symbol right now. So I know a lot of
Hmm.
people who just want to write 2x founder, 3x founder on their LinkedIn and their resume just because it adds a lot of social credibility for them as well. I just hope that doesn't continue to happen, and at some point people have a strong reality check.
Yeah,
No,
Pavan,
like
aren't
India
you
has also.
a two times founder now?
Hey, come
Yes,
on, dude.
yes.
I wasn't I wasn't referring to Pawan, but I'm saying somebody else out there.
Sorry, sorry.
But jokes apart, it basically goes on to this, right? If you divide the entire funnel into 1% or top 0.1%, there would be like 0.001% who will be having a valuation of more than 7,500 crores or a unicorn status, whatever, now 8,500 crores. Uh, so it becomes like ridiculously skewed when you see entrepreneurship success from different lenses. For someone who is running a
Yeah.
business which is profitable in all sense, which is happy for them, they don't have any other people on their cap table, it's a great success for them, versus a founder who is left with only 2% on his cap table but is having a unicorn status is a different kind of success. So it depends upon individuals and people to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next point. The future of collections is here. This is a post that's very dear to the three of us, because
Yeah.
this features two of our ex-colleagues, but two of our ex-colleagues, Ananta and Ranjit, has built this platform called DPD Zero, which is an AI collections agency. Look at this post. Last week, Tara got a borrower to cough up 3,635 rupees as part of the repayment of a small ticket personal loan. In the recording I heard, Tara was assertive yet polite, pushy but understanding, occasionally talking over the borrower, but sometimes pausing for a long time to reply. At the end of the call, the borrower asked Tara for her number, and I couldn't suppress a smile. For Tara wasn't the real person. It's an AI collection agent from one of Bloom's fastest growing services software plays, DPD Zero, which helps lenders manage their collections. Insane
Absolutely
post this
love
is.
this. This
I'm
is
so
so
proud of
good.
them.
It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so proud of
Kudos
it.
to Ananta and Ranjit, dude. I mean, amazing. This is amazing feat.
This is truly changing how collection is done and being at the forefront of doing this innovation and just, yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Let's move on to another interesting segment. Super apps will not work in India. Repeat after me. India is not a super app country. I've said this forever now, as our China obsession led all advice pointing towards building super apps that we have had so many dead bodies of now. If you are a multi app company, launch them separately. That's the way. Not at all surprised by Instamart going standalone app way. So, for those of you who don't know, super app is basically a concept where if you're offering multiple services, they can all be hosted on a single application. So think of Swiggy, right? They have Genie, they have Mini, they have Swiggy Food, they have Instamart, and a bunch of other services that come along with it as well. And there has been a long-standing opinion that in India, super apps won't work. Every app which is giving a specific service has to operate on its own. Unlike China, where super apps were a big thing. But what do you guys think? Pawan, let me start with you first.
I personally feel super app concept being really good, but I also understand from user behavior perspective that it does not work for India. And what Zomato did was clearly built for India perspective. They just separated out each of the app ecosystem. But as a personal user, I do like Swiggy as an application, super app as a concept, because I don't like to keep multiple apps on my phone. I just keep
Yeah.
finding ways of clearing out my app gallery. Just want to have like very few specific applications, so on and so forth. Yeah, but this is like I won't be obsessed with me as a user, but as large part of the country, I don't believe that super app as a concept is gonna work in future, maybe, but is not working right now at this point.
Saksham, what do you think?
Hmm. I tend to echo Pawan's thoughts. I feel there are two, three major reasons why it won't work. Maybe the first reason I think is actually a little bit of fragmented consumer preferences, right? Like today, people in India prefer specialized apps for specialized needs, right? Nobody is looking at one single app for doing everything. Maybe second thing, which is also important, is a lot of trust issues, I think, which might come with this, right? Because in a super app, there is so much more data required, and the user just becomes extremely cautious about sharing some of this excessive data due to privacy concern or maybe fear of misuse, right? Which we've also seen happen with some of these companies in the past few years. And third, maybe which may or may not be relevant, and let me go know if this makes sense, guys. Maybe in some sense, fierce competition like across different verticals, right? Like India's app ecosystem is already highly competitive, right? And there are players in each vertical like payments, ride hailing, e-commerce, and that are well established and already funded. So a super app will need to excel in each of these domains, right? Which is very difficult in a market like India, which is so fragmented.
Yeah, look, I I don't disagree with either of you said, but by that logic, a phone pay wouldn't exist, a Paytm wouldn't exist, etc. They are all some forms of super apps, right? They have bill
Yeah,
payments,
yeah.
UPI payments, loans, insurance, FASTag, etc., as well. So I'm not sure if I fully buy into that argument. I think what China does well, let me just come to my point, right? I think what China does well is that the app ecosystem or the service ecosystem within that super app are all interconnected. So, for example, if let's say I keep ordering food from Swiggy, will I get some sort of advantage if I use an Instamart later? Will I get some sort of advantage if I use Genie later? Probably not. And that's where Chinese super apps have done a much better job than Indian ones.
Yeah, I think one thing India needs to crack is a cleaner UI. Like if you look at, let's say, a Paytm app a couple of years ago versus today, it just feels, extremely clustered. And a lot of times, even me, who is a fairly affluent users, gets confused as to where do I even navigate within this app. Right? I
Bro,
think that's
but
where the problem
WeChat and
is.
Alipay and all are even worse. I've seen those apps, I've used those apps, they're equally worse. In fact, I would say they're much worse than the clutterness of a Paytm or a phone pay. So I don't like I get your point. Like, affluent customers like you and me probably won't like it, but I don't think the average person cares.
Yeah. Hmm.
Actually, from US perspective, right, the world actually revolves from west to east. The apps in the west, although they don't have sophisticated designs, they have very clean user experience. They have clearly sophisticated places of how user navigates from end to end. And somewhere when it comes to India, it becomes jazz. Like there is a design element added to it. There are
Hmm.
animation that goes blah blah over here and there. That's how Indians like it. And when you go towards east, right, like southeast apps, like maybe it may be the Paytm equivalents or the financial
Hmm.
apps there or the Swiggy, and the user experience as well as the user design goes for a toss. I think so. It exactly goes from west to east.
Maybe again, I think little bit of difference of opinion. If you look at Grab, I think
Yeah.
what they've cracked brilliantly is, irrespective of if you're in Thailand or Malaysia or Indonesia, there's an auto translate. So you can just keep conversing with your delivery partner or your, cab driver without ever having to converse with them or having that barrier of language. So some of these problems, I think they've really thought about it deeply and tried to solve for in their apps.
I like that feature of people uploading pictures of where I am for a Grab driver or a Uber
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
equivalent
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
I
I really like
agree.
that.
That's a very
Yeah, I agree.
nice feature actually. But I do
Yep.
feel on this lines, right? Like why China is very acceptable towards super app as a concept is mostly people's upbringing, the larger population being literate there, which comes from the same school of thought that why should I have like 10 other apps and ecosystem on my phone? I just can do most of the things in the same application and it grows over a period of time. It might be a phase where WeChat being a super app made a lot of difference in people's mind share and concept overall. That's why they are more acceptable towards super app as a concept. But in India, was a very diverse country. We had like 10 apps competing with each other and everyone solved a specific problem. And that's how we became ingrained towards not having super apps as a known thing to us. I think so. It's just how the opportunities were presented to each of the countries which made the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
But, but I don't agree with your point that everything from the west comes to the east, because sure, while that may have been prevalent in the last few decades, I think it's definitely changing, right? Just look at Aadhaar and UPA for that matter. US still doesn't have an equivalent to an Aadhaar or equivalent to a UPA. In fact, one of the first projects that Elon Musk and a bunch of his advisors are taking up with the Trump government is to build a system very similar to Aadhaar, because the social security system in US is shit.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
So I
it's
think so.
like
You are fairly generalizing it. I'm not talking it from infrastructure perspective, but very specifically to app design as a concept. I'm saying.
Hmm.
That's it. We are there are places we are much better than the West. The Deliveroo app is shit there. But what I
Yeah.
appreciate there is you don't need instructions to navigate through the application. You see that design is okayish, but you exactly know what is the next step there. The
yeah,
instructions are
That's also, I
I
very
think, an
fully
known
agree,
and
man.
education,
clear.
a little education problem.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it from this week's edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so below. See you next week. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Ciao.